Hey guys, and welcome to this video. Today we're gonna talk about geometry and especially geometry generation. So how to generate some shapes, some lines, some nodes, and etc. So let's jump into it. So I have a new, fresh, clean Hyperworks X model here, and I also have an older version of Hyperworks, in this case 2019.1, and also freshly new. So that's here because I want to compare those two, and then you can see better what the difference are and how you can make the best benefits from the new workflows. Now, first things first, I have triggered some visualization techniques to help you see what I'm doing here. So you have my mouse cursor, and if I scroll my wheel up and down, those are the two symbols. Left click is this, right click is this, and the middle mouse button is denoted by an M. So you can see what I'm doing here. And I also created some visualization techniques on the screen. For example, if I'm hitting escape or some shortcuts like that, you can see it on the bottom left. All right, now let's cover geometry generation. You have assembly geometry. We will be covering today those icons here. So let me start with some simple points. Hyperworks differentiates between points and nodes. Nodes are part of the mesh or can be part of the mesh. For example, for defining a rigid element, you can use nodes, but points are just for reference. So this differentiation has to be clear from the beginning. So if I'm clicking here on points, you can select if you want to create points or nodes. That's defined here. And as always, you can check the help here and also see a little video about how to do it. So that's neat. But today you have me showing you how this goes. So you see that icon here, and it's even following my mouse a little bit. You can see that. And if I'm pressing here, somewhere on the graphical screen, I get this little pop-up menu where I can input some values. For example, 0, 0, 0. It's always good to know where your origin is. And yeah, then you can see that point gets created. I create another point, maybe at 15, 0, 0. And that's created as well. So I have 2 points here. If I ever want to edit a point, I just double click it. And then this pop-up menu comes back once again. And I can change the values. For example, -5. Now it's getting moved over here, 0 back here. So that's easy. If you want to make this dialog go away, just click once right. You can see the menu. And now if you hover your mouse to the left, you see this little icon, this check mark. It goes away. So once again, I'm in this menu. I want to edit this here to be 20. And right click and go to the left. Easy as that. So let's see how this was in the last version. You have no way to generate some points in here graphically. You have to go to panels, geom, and nodes or points, insert some values, for example 0, 0, 0, and pressing create. Now you have this point in the middle. And you have to do this once again for everything. And if you want to know where a point is, you have to click here and click here a few times, and then those values get the values of that point, which is not so easy in compared to Hyperworks X. All right, next up, lines. You have lines here. The reason why I don't cover this icon, you see in a minute. If I just want to create a simple line from A to B, I can use this icon, create line. I can also click the help, see what's there. Shift and pressing locks the direction. Control, continue from last line. And double click is editing, and F1 means show help. Okay, we can test that. Help 1. It's opened up a browser window in the other screen. Okay, let's skip that for now. Now we want to do a simple line from A to B. So selecting this icon, and then you see that snapping here. So selecting first one, second one, you see the length is calculated. You cannot change the length in this case because you want to go that from A to B, and that's perfectly defined. So just pressing enter, and that's about it. So this is a line. You could do another line, for example. You can see that it's snapping to the axis, in this case the y-axis. If you want to do a rectangular, like this one, and if I hold down Control, I can easily go yeah, make a progression. So next line and the last line. Now I have a rectangular, not quite a rectangular because it's yeah, it's not 90 degrees in here. I could do that with some trimming, but we saved that for another video. I have a more easy way to do that, or an easier way to do that. You have a rectangular right here, and if you want to use a point as a reference, you can do so by starting here and just simply drag a rectangular and edit the lengths in here, and you have a rectangular. I pressed the middle mouse button just in case if that was too short. And now we have cylinder as well, so we can choose center and then just input the diameter, for example, 15. Middle mouse button confirms the action. Now that's how you do lines. Lines can be used to create shapes, or in this case, surfaces. You have surfaces here, but before going into that, this icon needs some attention. And this is if you want to extract some points or nodes from lines. So we created a few lines. Maybe we want to have a certain amount of points between those 2 points. So I'm just hitting once here, selecting a line and input the number of points I want between those 2 points, or in this case on the whole line. So those are 10 points in total. And just pressing right click and going over to the left confirms the action. So this is especially good if you want to do some loads on here, or if you want to control a mesh, you can do that by using this option. All right, now the surfaces. If I just click on surfaces, I have the most common used option is patch. So in this case, patch means that I have to have some surrounding lines, because yeah, surface is a 2-dimensional object, and the rule is that every object is circumstanced. Its boundaries are in 1 dimension lower as the object. So a surface 2-dimensional object, the boundaries are 1-dimensional. 3-dimensional object, for example a cube, the boundaries are surfaces, which is 2-dimensional. All right, so if I want to make a cylindrical surface here, yeah, it's not really cylindrical, but it's just a, yeah. I'm sorry about that. But if you want to fill that circle here, circular shape, you could say, you just select a line like this. Now I can see that it is selected. And now if you hover over your mouse here, you see that little check mark. If I press once here again with left, you can see that it's filled now. Same goes with those shapes here. So you have to select them all and just pressing once with the check mark in here. I think you can use the middle mouse button as well. Yeah, you can do that. And there's a third option with find, but I think we've found our options in here. We could use this one here. Well, can we? Not really. We would have to trim it here, I guess. Or do we? No, we don't. So that's possible here. And what's else in the mix is that we can extend some surfaces, or extend it by moving some edges. For example, if I want to move this edge up here, you can do so. And this is created here. Does it work on the circle as well? Yeah, it does. So you can move the surfaces. Cross extend we will cover in another video. If we have a different, yeah, like a T-junction, so you can cross extend the surfaces, and offset will get covered by the mid-surface mesh video, I guess. But yeah, I can show it here. The offset surface is if you want to make an offset surface of a particular surface. For example, this. I want to have another surface 10 millimeter above it. You could copy it, and then it will get translated. So this is that. You could also do that with solids, but yeah, we come maybe back to that on a later occasion. All right, so now you can create surfaces. Now, what else you could do is to create surfaces while dragging or spinning. For example, let's say I want to do a tube from the circular line here. I can select, let's quickly go back here. And one thing I wanted to show you again is just going in a quick edit menu to show the line colors. So you have red lines and blue and green lines here. Red lines mean those are outer boundaries of a surface, which only one surface is attached to. And green lines, those are the lines which are shared by two surfaces. So you see this surface and this surface share this line, and this surface share this line. And all the other lines are outer lines, so they're just used by one surface. And yeah, and yellow lines would be lines which are shared by three surfaces. So for example, a T-junction, the line in the middle is a yellow line in this case. Now, back to the dragging operation. I want to make a cylindrical a tube, basically, based on that line here. So you can see that you have lines and surfaces as well, which you could drag. And you have also guidelines. In this case, we make an easy shape. So in this case, a tube. So I can select a line here. And now I'm just inputting some values, for example, 50. And you can see that you have a preview of the generated shape. And while clicking with the middle mouse button, it gets created. And I can see that would be your tube. I revert this action by pressing Ctrl+C. And in this case, if I want to do not a tube, but a completely full cylinder, I could use not lines, but surfaces. So selecting the surface, inputting the same values as before, will create a completely full cylinder. So in this case, it's a solid. Why can you tell that that's a solid? You can see that the line is a bit thicker than the other lines. You can see that here. This is how Hyperworks shows you that this is a solid. Same thing goes with dragging. So I'm reverting once again and going back and selecting the spinning. You can see those two icons here, spinning, dragging, are in one icon basically, but you can, by carefully selecting which operation you want to do, you can choose the operation. So in this case, spinning. And I will show first a line. So this would be a circular tube, or a tube which is bended. So I'm selecting the line. And now the spin axis I have to define. For example, maybe at 0, 0, 0, that's where that point was here, or I could easily choose any axis here. So for example, 0, 0, 0, and now I have to input how much this is spinned. So in this case, for example, 90 degree will get you something like this. And because I was not completely selecting, or because that's not really closed here, we have some cut through that tube. All right, reverting that once again and just selecting not the lines but the surfaces works here as well. So I can select the same spin axis, and I don't want the vector to be in the X direction, but to be in the Y direction. And now I want to. That was the wrong selection here. So spinning, not lines, but surfaces. This surface I want to spin. Spin axis is here. And now I want to change it here. So this should be 0, 1, 0. And now, how do we get back here? No. Maybe no, escape is not there. Okay. No. I'm sorry about that. So here's coordinate system 0, 1, 0. Now I want to get back. Escape doesn't the trick. Oh yeah, it does. So hitting escape gets you back. And now I can maybe insert 360. And this does not do the trick. Why doesn't it do the trick? That should not be a problem. And maybe I do 90. It's not previewing anything. A little bit off. Something is selected wrong here. I will check if it's working on a different shape. If I spin, not lines but surfaces. For example, this surface around an axis. I will make it easy for me in this case. Just show it. Now this is working. Okay. Also 360. Okay, that's not working because it's not matching. That could be the problem. Okay. But this is working. Well, needless to say, this is how you're creating a solid. Maybe you have to check if what I did wrong here. But this is how you can spin or drag a component and create a surface or solid in here. And you can use a solid. You can create a solid by different means, which I'm covering right now. So you see this symbol, which we have skipped here. So if I press here, you have different options. For example, bounding. So if you have, what could we do for a quick, yeah. Let me just quickly delete some of the solids here. So selecting solids here, and delete this entity. I want to delete the surfaces as well. Now I just quickly drag a cylinder. So like this, 50. Okay, I have a cylinder now, which is closed at one end, but it's not closed on the other. But I will do that. I will create another surface with the patch, selecting this line and pressing once again while this check mark is here. So this does the trick. And now I have solids by bounding surfaces. So I could select the surface and okay, you can see that there's a surface here which does not belong in here. We will delete the surface quickly. Surfaces here. And I will patch it once again. Surfaces patch. Why has it a green line here? Should be red. Should be a red line. This is the surface, but that's because of, yeah, I know. Because of the line which we created. That's just a green line. So surfaces patch. Okay, maybe we use the find option here. Patch all, and now we have a cylinder here. Now what we can do now is just create a solid by using the bounded surfaces. So if I'm pressing once here, you can see that all the surfaces are selected, and the reason why it was not selected previously, it's because they were not connected in a way. And so I made sure that it is connected, which is the case right now, and I can just create it. And here you can see that a solid is created. And you can see that by those thicker lines. There are different ways to create a solid as well. So if you just want to create a sphere somewhere here, you could just easily select a point. It makes most sense if you have a reference point and then you click that reference point and just select the radius of the sphere. So for example, like that. And yeah, you can also do that with the box. And here I have to be a little bit cautious because the box is depending on how you look on your area, it's depending in which way the box is getting created. For example, if I just simply make it like this, you can see that it is, it's arranged here. In this case, it was arranged to do XY axis, but that has not to be the case. For example, if I'm just clicking here 3 times, okay. In this case, it seems to be aligned to the XY axis, but that must not be the case. I think it's because all the objects they have this property in common that they are at the XY axis or parallel to that. But if I just quickly deleting all my model and save, and I'm just starting by creating a box, could be the case. Just want to create a box, and I'm just somewhere here. You can see that this box is not orientated with the XYZ axis. You can do that. You can orientate the box by just going back to the solids menu, double clicking on it, and here you have the coordinate system. You can drag it and also turn it, and also switch between the coordinate system here and the coordinate system of the model, which is also possible. And you also can drag the coordinate system to somewhere else. By double clicking, then it turns orange. Now I can just move that somewhere. And for example, if you turn it also, you're turning around this point. So this could be pretty useful if you want to turn it around a certain point. All right, cylinder would be the last primitive, you could call it, which you can create by just clicking here. And you can see that it's aligned now to this surface. So be careful how you arrange your first geometry, because that defines your surface where you're sketching on. All right, so this concludes all the geometry operations which are covered in this video. If you just want to take a look back on Hyperworks as it was previously, all those icons were not present. So geometry generation would be right here, creating lines, creating surfaces, creating solids, and editing is done here. If you are an experienced Hyperworks user with much experience on the panels and you want to use the panels, you can do as well. So those menus didn't change or didn't change much as I experienced it. So you can use the same things, and we will do that on certain occasions. But those menus here up here, they give you quick access to reasonably grouped icons which do much of the functionality. For example, in this case, geometry generation. All right, editing will be the next video. Thank you for your time. Thank you for staying here and supporting this channel. If you want to make some make some comments about what you want to see next, or if you have a certain task, please just let me know in the comments, and we will see each other next time. Thank you.